Good morning, everybody. Welcome back. You're watching the Kaiser Report. I'm John, and I'm here to talk to you today about a few things that are going on in and around the country. But before I get started, yesterday's broadcast from Holston Dam, I had mentioned Charles Schwab on two different occasions, and I'd like to correct that today. What I meant to say was Klaus Schwab. But I had Charles Schwab on my mind because of what the stock market was on about yesterday, and I was watching that and got a little confused. But I want to correct that with you all today. It is Klaus Schwab who is the real-life Dr. Evil in our attempt to reduce our carbon presence on this planet, along with his billionaire friends. But watch yesterday's report and you'll understand what that's all about. And today, job openings in this country in December rose dramatically and unexpectedly. Because if you listen to what they're telling you from the White House, everything is great. The economy is doing gangbusters under the Bidenomics, which may or may not be true. I think it's not true. The job numbers reported, you can't believe what they're giving you, because what they give you in December and January, they turn around and realize that they false reported, but it makes you feel good because you think everything is okay. Which brings me to the next topic, which is the UPS announced today that they're eliminating 12,000 jobs. And if you've gone to ship anything recently, either with UPS or FedEx, not so much DHL yet, but it's very expensive to get anything out to anybody in a hurry anymore. An overnight delivery, you can't afford it in most cases, even for a small package. And then you have to look at the fact that 2 and 3 day is now up to over $100 to get a small box shipped. So people are living paycheck to paycheck. The economy is not doing as well as they'd like you to believe it is. The layoffs are not just with UPS, but 12,000 people are going to lose their job. And they're telling you how many jobs are increasing across this country right now. If you want to listen to Bidenomics work, it doesn't work. And most people do not work anymore. If you go into any local establishment, whether it's a restaurant or a small mom and pop store that may be selling clothing or shoes or anything, you'll find out that they'll tell you the customer service doesn't exist anymore because we can't find people to work, number one, and the people that we do hire to work don't understand customer service and they don't want to be there. But they want to collect a paycheck and find out how many days off they can have and how many sick days are you offering and what's my vacation plan. This is something that we all would like to know these things, but you don't go in for a job interview with that being tantamount on whether or not you'd like to have that job or if that employer would like to have you as an employee. So we have a shortage of people that are willing to work, number one. And number two is these corporations such as UPS. And Levi Strauss announced that they're laying off 1,600 people. I guess no one buys jeans anymore from Levi's. So I don't know if they're going to cut that from the upper management or in the production cycles. But I don't even think that Levi Strauss makes their product here in the States anymore. That's another factor that we have to look into. Everybody went overseas because they couldn't afford to pay the people here, but they got cheap labor there, and that's why they moved. We all know that. Ukraine is reporting that they're going to send more sophisticated weapons into areas near the Japan coast, which is upsetting some people in Japan. And then on the Trump situation, his lawyers are looking into the judge's ties in the Carroll case with not only the prosecutor, but his ability to persuade the jury to think one way. So this is not over and done with yet, so we'll be hearing more and more about that. The other thing is the economy is not what they say it is. It's not good. Layoffs are happening right and left. Businesses are closing up. Yet our government tells us every day through the corrupt mainstream media that we have to listen to if you turn on your TV anymore, that how great things are. And not to worry. You have no worries. They're up to something and we don't know what they're up to, but it's probably not going to be good for you and I because we're not in the club that they're all in, and we don't get the benefits and the juices that they enjoy. But U.S. is looking into answering back the death of our soldiers, and Biden is looking for an approach to get into this without upsetting any of his buddies in the Ukraine or in, obviously, Tehran, because we're not. Oh, yeah, his big statement yesterday was when they asked him, what is he going to tell them? And his answer was, don't. That's a great plan to solve this problem of them supplying the Houthis and Hamas and everybody else in that region all kinds of weapons that we gave them money to get. In some cases, it's even some of our weapons that are being used, and no one's looking into this. It's incredible what's going on. Lloyd Austin showed back up yesterday for the first time going to work after his surgery and his absence that he was in Walter Reed Army Hospital for. And he and Joe Biden are not going to take this because of the loss of life. But the Biden administration approach to the Middle East is further exposed by the U.S. attacks in Iran and terrorist groups, according to the former government officials. I don't know what attacks we made in Iran other than Soleimani, and that was called for, hands down. We have to understand that. The Kremlin announced today, I don't know if you realized that the Olympic skater that won the medal was taken away from her, and she was reduced to a bronze medal as a result of doping. Well, the Kremlin announced today that they're not accepting that. So good luck with that. The Ukraine infrastructure was hit with 35 drones and 2 missiles yesterday. Anybody that believes that the Ukraine can possibly come out on top of a war with Russia right now because they don't like Putin is severely disturbed, because this cannot happen and it will not happen. And for us to go ahead and pump more money into that situation is not a good thing. So we need to get off that train, and the Ukraine needs to stand on their own And Zelensky's probably already looking for a place to take asylum in, whether it's going to be the UK, France, or wherever he'd like to live, probably on our money when he gets there, because there's no accountability for what they have gotten already. And we're going to start seeing some of this weaponry that we've just indulged them with ending up in the hands of people we don't want them to have. It's inevitable, and it's coming. This Ukraine nonsense needs to stop. And if you're running around with a lapel pin with a Ukraine flag, or you're flying a Ukraine flag at your house, God bless you, but you need mental help, because there is no way that that's going to end in a good situation. Get that. Learn that. Because we shouldn't be sending another dime that way. With Iran, they understand from the past that we don't take nonsense, but they have gotten to a point now, that that they know we have a weakened government, and we have our carnival cabinet in place. And they feel that they can get away with doing anything they want, and the answer will not be a strong one. Evidenced by the fact that his answer is don't. And when they asked the vice president what her opinion was, she repeated it. Don't. One word. Don't. What does that mean? It's ridiculous. Let's see if there's anything else. Of course, we talked about Peter Navarro's sentencing and the double-tiered legal system that we live under these days, and it continues on. The border situation is not getting any better. The fight with Texas goes on. The truckers are talking about coming in to help close the border. That's going to be interesting. I'd buy a ticket to see that, because that will be impressive. They have bikers joining it. They have a lot of organizations that are just as upset as we all are about the inundation of 11 million people into this country, unvetted, unvaccinated, and unchecked, and in some cases on the terrorist watch list that got through. We did catch a couple of hundred of them, but there's a lot more that they believe have slipped the noose and got away. They're in your town. They're in your cities. There's terrorist cells that are being set up to operate, if not already set up. And if you don't believe that, it's a matter of time, but it's coming. Toyota issued today a rare do not drive advisory for 50,000 vehicles. Toyota has issued a do not drive advisory for the owners of approximately 50,000 motor vehicles and models that are popular, the Corolla and the RAV4 vehicles in the United States. Toyota, if you don't know, is now the largest car manufacturer here in the States, biggest in car sales, because they have always had good products and done quite well here, done quite well across the world, actually. So this is rather amusing that 50,000 of those vehicles are going to be probably recalled for something, but we don't know what just yet. Billionaire hedge fund manager Bill Ackman has ripped into the Biden administration following the drone attack on Sunday, which killed 3 or 4 of our soldiers, both men and women, while they slept. The excuse came out now that they breached the security systems that were in place because we had drones out that were returning at the time and they couldn't tell the difference. If you want to buy that story, that's okay. I don't particularly believe it. I think somebody was asleep at the wheel, and they're going to find some, low-grade soldier to blame this on, so Biden doesn't have to react. Oh, see, it was just an accident. It's no accident when Iran supplies the missiles and the drones that are capable of killing our servicemen that are deployed. It's no accident. That's a breach. That's a declaration of war, and we need to understand that. I'm not promoting war in any fashion, but if you don't answer back and do it in a timely basis, they're just going to do it again because they know where your weaknesses are. And if they're not sure about the weaknesses, all they have to do is cell phone some of the people that they've let come through the border that are now in our country, and they'll pinpoint from whatever city they're in what the weaknesses is in Chicago, New York, San Francisco, Denver, and Texas. But that should be no surprise to anybody because we let a spy drone go completely over the top of this country, stopping at each and every silo that we have that houses our own protection. So they have a map now of where to look to fire their ordnance into. And this is why we didn't shoot it down when it was coming out of Alaska over Montana. We let it go through the entire country because somebody had a deal with them. Okay, we won't shoot it down until you get all your mapping done. So I'm not believing that it's anything other than that. They're sizing us up for a fall. The World Economic Forum is in on it with them. Who's running this whole thing? I don't know. But that brings us back to this election that's upcoming. And now they put the two big dogs out to campaign for Biden because he's incapable of going out and doing a debate or any campaigning because he can't string two sentences together. So now they have Obama and Clinton, Bill Clinton, on the campaign trail for Joe Biden. So who do you think is behind Joe Biden running this whole show? I would really love your comments on that. So give me an idea what you're thinking, because I have a view that's not good of what's really going on behind the curtains here. And if you have an opinion, I would love to hear your opinions on it. So please use the comments below and let me know what you're thinking. South Korea has fired a third round of cruise missiles. North Korea fired multiple cruise missiles into the waters off of their western coast on Tuesday, and it's the third launch of such weapons this month. South Korea's military said that the North continues to flaunt in its expanding arsenal of weapons designed to overwhelm South Korea and the entire Pacific Rim. So now we have another saber rattling going on. And if you remember back when Mr. Trump dealt with the Rocket Man there, it wasn't that long ago that we didn't hear anything more from him because he was scared of our reaction back under the Trump administration. Do you think anyone in this world is scared of Joe Biden? They know he's a dysfunctional lame duck right now, basically. And they're going to rattle sabers all over the world against us and think that they can get away with it. So we need to be very keen on who we decide to elect to protect our interest in the world and to protect our own country. Speaking of protecting our own country, the best way I can see to do it this minute is to close down the border in its entirety, letting no one through unless they go through an entry point with the legal documentations required to be a citizen or to get a visa to be in this country. But that's closing the barn door after all the cattle and horses ran away, because we've already let 11 million of them in. So the U.S. Navy announced today that it's lowering its recruitment standards. According to the U.S. military recruitment officers, they issued an edict that we have to lower the standards to get more people to enlist. And this, they say, is the lack of recruitment is caused by white supremacy problems, discharging soldiers and sailors objecting to the COVID-19 shot mandate, and the woke promotional campaigns put out through the military branches during this time. Wokeism has no place in the military. I'm sorry. That's just not a prerequisite for somebody that we underpay to do the job that they do as it is, and put them in harm's way. We don't have time for this. If you train properly and you're out there to protect this country, that's what your first and foremost look at things should be. Not pronouns or anything else that's required today by the military. Got to watch what you say at all times around people who are offended so easily at the drop of a hat. It's a funny world anymore. Now, Newsmax came out today with a U.S. consumer confidence. It was the highest in 2 years. If you believe that for a minute, I have a bridge in Brooklyn I'd really like to sell you, and I'll give you a good deal on it. But the American consumers, fresh off a strong holiday spending, are feeling more confident than they have in 2 years. That's an out-and-out fantasy, because they haven't got their statements yet for the credit cards they used to have a good Christmas. Yeah, they spent a lot, possibly, but they put it on credit. And credit has to be paid back. It's like these people that have $40,000 and $50,000, for 20 some years in student loans that they didn't bother to pay. Then when they were reduced during COVID and given a chance to pay less back, they made no payments and let it ride. Now the banks are asking for large payments. There was something on allegedly this morning that they wrote him and said that this woman that's for 20 some years has owed over $55,000, and now the bank is demanding that she pays $900 a month because she didn't pay anything from COVID on. When they had the break, they should have paid. It's like anything else. And if you're sitting around waiting for Joe Biden to give you a check to pay your student loans, that's not going to happen. I don't care what he says and how he's going to do it. It doesn't make sense. If you do that, I think that that's borderline illegal, and I think, the court system needs to be involved in that, because who borrows money and has somebody else pay for it? Wouldn't work for me. Job openings in this country are on the rise and higher than expected because people do not want to take a job any longer. It's as simple as that. Customer service is non-existent in this country as it used to be. We need to get back to work. We need to get back to positive things. We cannot dwell in the negatives. And there is some, nasty things going on in this country with the border and all that and around the world that, we get sucked into by the mainstream legacy media that would like to keep us all divided. Their job given them by whoever runs their organization is to keep you confused and divided, whether it's by color, whether it's by religion, or by state. They want to keep you divided. They want you to believe that there's segments of voters that they have to, cajole into only voting for Democrats or only voting for Republicans. Well, I've got news for you. Democrats and Republicans are all cut from the same cloth. There's no difference. And they can't get along themselves, it appears to you. But behind closed doors, I think they get along just fine. I think that they have an agenda that they're working on, driven by the carnival cabinet that's in power right now. And who's running the show? Somebody behind a curtain, because it certainly is not the President of the United States, Joe Biden. And if that's not evident to you by now, it should be. So we all have to wake up and realize that our country and our freedom is in jeopardy. They want to do this digital currency. They want to control your thoughts. They want to control your speech. They want to control your money and how much of it you're allowed to have, whether you earned it or not. And that's their plan, and they're executing their plan on a daily basis. So we can sit complacently for the rest of the time until November and think that magically by voting one person or a team in that's going to fix everything, it will be magic. So let's just sit back and wait for that all to happen. Or let's get proactive right now and make sure that we have the right candidates that say the right things with the right solutions to make this country better than it is today. We are right now in the best of times as it exists. So enjoy it, because it could get a lot worse. And it might, if this administration continues with the clown show that they're putting on right now and stepping our feet into wars that we don't belong in, funding wars that we don't belong in, taking our tax dollars and spending it on things that do not help the citizenry of this country is dead wrong. It's happening on a daily basis. I've implored you all in the past to call your congressperson, your Senate person, and vehemently give them what your thoughts are. And have them help you, not somebody halfway around the world that when you do talk to these people will tell you, we hate America. We hate that you're not in our religion. And yet we kowtow to them. Why? Why are we funding third world countries for everything under the sun, including, the gender life of some frog somewhere for millions of dollars? When we have people starving in the streets in this country that are citizens of this country, veterans that are in the street with no warm clothes, with no food, but yet we're sending billions, and they want another $1 billion to go to the Ukraine. Which brings me up to the UN problem that they have. They just found out that we're funding the UN, who is funding the UNRV, whatever it is, and they found out recently that most of these people are Hamas supporters. The UN is basically a money machine that somebody is benefiting from, but this country doesn't need the UN. And we don't need to be funding the UN. They're protecting Europe. Let Europe pay their fair share. Like Donald Trump told them during his administration, we're not going to fund this alone anymore. You people have to step up. You owe money, pay it. But our tax dollars have to go to pay it. It's not a good situation to be in. I say this on this show every day. We have to have some fundamental changes and some tort reform in our court systems, and the lawlessness that's taking place in this country because we have an entire left wave that wants to defund all the police departments. That brings us into chaos. What happens when a country goes into chaos? You lose the country. Look at the history books before they were rewritten by the millennials and on about the truth of what happened in the 1930s. Let's just take a look at the 1930s. It's echoing itself again. The anti-Semitism has to stop. It's being promoted by the squad. Ilana Maher should be deported tomorrow for what she just had to say about standing with Palestine. She's a sitting congresswoman from Minnesota, and unless Minnesota has joined, it seceded from here and joined the Palestinian government, what is she saying? Why is this happening? How does she still have a seat in Congress? How have any of the squad have a seat in Congress? They all act like idiots. And they obviously do not like America, or they want to fundamentally change America to, to who knows what. But it's not good for this country. We need to get back to basics. We need to fix education, stop the indoctrination, get back to our religious foundations, no matter what religion you are or you care to believe in. It's perfectly fine. You have freedom of religion. And if someone's telling you that, you're in the wrong religion, don't listen to them. You work from your heart and what your heart feels. And if you want to let God into your heart, that's perfectly okay. No matter what church you attend, God's in all of them. And God listens. And God's looking out for us. So that's about it today, I guess. I guess that's enough. The World Economic Forum wants us all gone, especially the older of us, because we were educated correctly, and we know what the truth is and what's going on. And we believe in God, and we believe in the Second Amendment. And that bothers people. But the people in charge are the ones to watch out for. And with that, I'm going to say that's pretty much it for today, unless something catastrophic happens, and I'll get back to you with it. But until then, I'm going to trip on out of here. Have a great day. We love you. Bye now.